Hiya. You seem to be missing a battery. Ah. I'm Dan from EDEMO Electric Bikes, and today we've come to the Brecons. We're here to test ride the Riese Müller supercharger, and we're going to do that by cycling up the gap. So the bike we've brought with us today is the Riese Müller Supercharger GT Roll-Off. It's a 1250 watt-hour battery, which means it's got two 625 watt-hour batteries in the frame. This one we've kitted up with the GX pack, which gives us the knobbly off-road Johnny Watts tyres, slightly more aggressive pedals, and also the Ergon GP3 bar ends on it as well. Other options we've gone for are the Nyon sat-nav or Nyon cockpit that comes on it as well. This bike, being the GT roll-off version, means that we've got the belt drive today, and we've also got a 14-speed hub, so with an electronic shifter up the top here, which is going to be a really nice ride for trying to do some of the hill climbing that we're probably going to find. So the bike's fitted with a Cane Creek thub buster, so a little bit of seat suspension. I guess this is going to make up a little bit for the fact that the supercharger is a hardtail bike, so it has no rear suspension on it. So the Cane Creek is going to give us just a little bit more comfort, combined with the Selle Royal saddle, which is a little bit wider and quite nice. It's going to get a bit tricky towards the top, so we'll see how we get on with the bike, but it should be fine. What's quite specific about this bike is the hardtail, no rear suspension. So along the canal path, we were absolutely flying on this. So sort of sitting around about the 16.5 mile an hour sort of speed. So it's what this thing's made for, absolutely brilliant. Once we got off the end of the canal path, we then picked up a route called something like the tramway or the old tram road, something like that. And it was almost cobbled. So all stones sort of packed down into the ground, sort of fixed into the ground, so nothing loose, but it was continuously bouncing, you know, hard work, and it was climbing. It was quite a slow climb, but what we found on this bike, because there's no rear suspension, you really started to feel that through your back. We've got the Cane Creek thub buster on it, which takes out some of that sort of jarring to your back, but we really knew about it the whole time, you know, it's a vibration going up and up. But we managed to climb it pretty rapidly. Got to the very top, and it opened up onto an incredible gravel road that went along, and we just rode along that for a little bit. It was kind of off our route. We knew we'd gone the wrong way, but it looked good and we wanted to carry on up to the top. And then from there, it was another downhill descent, similar to the tramway, but with a little bit more loose rocks and stuff. And that's where you start to find the difference about a hardtail bike compared to the full suspension ones. You just can't get the speed up because you're starting to bounce around. You're feeling the back end of the bike start to skip around as you're going downhill. And it's just a little bit more hard work. But having said that, completely capable of doing it. Maybe a bit softer tyres might have helped a little bit, make the ride a little bit smoother. But then it really came into its own as we got to the bottom. We hit back onto, I think it's called the Taft Trail, which is a big open sort of, I guess it's a double track, gravel packed road. And we just flew along again. So similar to the canal path part of it.
I'm getting quite a workout. I think that's the plan, isn't it?
Oh, is it? We must have sat doing that for sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes. And we came back up onto a spot where we stopped and turned around to look at the lake and the reservoir we've been next to, and it wasn't there. We'd covered so much ground so fast on this bike. It was an amazing ride. From there, a little bit of tarmac, again, perfect for this bike. And we sort of moved then on to a bit of lovely grass going along, light sort of flowing stuff again, everything this bike is made for. On the grassy parts, we found that the GX tyres, so the knobbly Johnny Watts tyres, were nice because they just give you that little bit more confidence, so you're not slipping around like on the normal GT tyres, Moto X tyres. And then from there, we moved on to a gradual climb. into a massive valley, making our way up to the gap, which was really our target for today. Seeing if we could get this bike up over the gap and see how we got on. And as we did this gradual climb, you know, the scenery again opened up into an enormous valley, really impressive sort of looking scenery. And again, the bike was great. Again, we're still sort of feeling that quite hard ride as you're coming up, but more than capable. There's one quite amusing part, I guess, where we really wanted to test and see how capable the bike was on a sudden steep climb. And I think more to the point, Rufus just wanted to see me fall off because it's quite amusing. So we had a really sudden sort of dip through a water and a steep climb up. So I thought I'd give it a go. We've got the roll-off hub on here, so we got it down into a really low gear. So we had first gear, which was needed to get up the hill. But even with that, I just couldn't get the traction to get going again, and the front wheel would pop up to the point that obviously it pops up, I fall over the back and I lie in a great big puddle of water. And I guess one of the other tricky things at that point was the seat post. So the seat's great when you're doing, you know, the nice sort of level riding, but there's times when you just want to drop it down. You just need to get it out of the way quickly. At the moment on this bike, there's no option for a drop of seat post, so the seat post is always going to be in that sort of one position there. But anyway, we got to the top of that climb, made our way up to the gap, and when we got to the gap, again, it just seems, you know, continuous where we are in Brecon, or in the Brecon Beacons today. There's one phenomenal view after the next. We got to the top, stopped for a bit, had a look out, you know, saw the scenery, you could see for miles, and then it was a huge descent to start coming down again. And the descent again was that sort of, at the top, I guess, near some loose rocky ground, and then it sort of opens up again onto some more hard-packed stuff. But again, I couldn't get huge speed up, quite a bit of speed, but couldn't get massive speed up due to the fact that the bike wants to bounce around, but that's part of the fun, just holding on to it, moving on down the hill. And then we're just making our last little way now down back into Brecon. So that's pretty much the end of the ride so far today. If I was to do the top 10 rides that I had ever personally done, this is going to be right up there. We've done some crazy stuff like Snowdon in the past, climbing to the top, which has been a fantastic challenge. You know, it's really quite special. But to get distance, to get views, to get a little bit of everything, this riding is, yeah, world class. This is probably up there in my top 1 or 2 rides that I've ever done.